Mike, what does "for informational purposes only" mean when people are putting this on purchase and sales agreements when they're buying a home?
So I find this interesting. I've been hearing that a lot lately this year, where I show up to a home inspection and perhaps the list agent maybe will pull me aside and say, hey, just so you know, Mike, this inspection is for informational purposes only. And it's always a little bit of a gray area. There's maybe some unwritten or maybe written agreement where the buyer's going to do an inspection, and the reason they're stating for informational purposes only, and I wish you could see me because I'm air quoting that, but we're on the radio, is they're trying to pre-negotiate that the buyer's not going to ask for any concessions or repairs based on the inspection. And I just find that a weird thing. All inspections, I guess if you think about it, I've done literally thousands or maybe tens of thousands of home inspections over the years. Every single one is for information for the buyer. Every single one. They're all for informational purposes only. Now, what the buyer does with that information, that's a whole other thing. So there are times where, the list agent may say something like, hey, this house is as is. Yeah, I understand that. Same thing. All of the houses that you buy are as is. Just like when you buy a used car, it's as is. That's fine. But if a surprise comes up on the inspection, it's a bad choice for the buyer to predetermine that they won't ask for anything. I don't like hearing buyers do that. And it may still be a case where a seller might go ahead and say, hey, we're still not going to fix anything because this market is crazy. And I know that my house has blemishes, but I also know that there's not a lot of houses out there. So we're not fixing nothing. You tell me whatever's wrong with this house you want. That's my number and that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. But if you're a buyer and you're buying a house, and right now some of the prices are inflated a little bit, I'm sure that's no surprise to anybody listening to the show, you may have a buyer making an elevated offer, over asking. It's happening all the time. If you get this buyer that buys a house and doesn't do an inspection, or does an inspection and doesn't have any contingency to support them, and they buy a house that they can't afford to maintain, or there's something dangerous in the house that they don't know about, then they're buying a house that they know they're going to let get ruined because they don't have the money to fix stuff that kind of needs to be fixed. And that's a bad move. If you waive that thing, or you agree in advance that you're not going to ask for anything, then you feel like you're stuck.
Yeah.
And you end up buying a house that you paid a lot of money for. Houses cost a lot of money. It's a huge investment, the biggest investment most people make in their entire lives. But if you don't have the money to then keep that investment in good condition, if it needs a roof in a year, but you're strapped because you paid more than you wanted to pay for this house, or you move in and you bring in your HVAC guy to service it, and all of a sudden, hey, guess what? We didn't do an inspection. We found out that heat exchanger is cracked. This is putting carbon monoxide in the house. I have to change this, or I can't use the heat safely. And you don't have $6,000 or $7,000 or whatever it might cost to put a new furnace in. You're really in a bad spot now. But when you do the inspection and you find something that's a condition that means you can't afford to maintain that house, or you can't live there safely, doing that inspection gives you that card in your back pocket to be like, you know what? They said they're not going to negotiate, but we're going to tell them what we found anyway. Maybe they don't know. Maybe they still will do a repair because they want to close on this deal too. They don't want to put their house back on the market. So still go back to them. Tell them, hey, yeah, this furnace needs to be replaced. I can't put my kids and my family in this house. And maybe they're going to say, hey, you agreed not to negotiate. But you as a buyer now can say, okay, we can still walk away and not put ourselves in a really bad spot.
Correct. Yeah. And now they have to disclose that situation to other buyers that are coming in because now it's a known defect. By law, they have to disclose it if it's a known defect.